In elementary school, I wasn't allowed to go to the sex ed class. My parents were just like, nope, you're too young. And we didn't really, like, I come from a conservative background, and we don't really talk about it at home, like, even now. And then during middle school, I remember going to a sex ed class, and we just primarily talked about, like, basic things like condoms and just things like that. Nothing too detailed from what I remember.
Really, my sex ed started with my grandmother just telling me that, you know, if boys touch you as a child, if you get, you know, you get pregnant. So that has been in my head, being that I'm from, like, you know, come from a different country, and that's the culture. They don't really talk about sex much, so it's more so, that was it. But then when I migrated to the United States, it was definitely different. I was taught in middle school more in detail about what sex is, what are my rights, how, you know, people should touch me or not to touch me, whether it's right or wrong.
So my sex ed experience was pretty limited in the school system. In elementary school, we had a day when we learned about our bodies, but in middle school we actually learned about sex, but it was abstinence only, so they didn't teach us about contraceptives. And when someone asked about safe sex, teachers weren't allowed to answer them.
So I got my sex education when I was in middle school, I believe, like 6th grade, and they separated the boys from the girls, and we watched a video about, you know, like your growing body, and it told you about puberty and like what changes you should expect.
So I had my sex education in Montgomery County, and it was pretty open actually. I felt like we addressed a lot of stuff that, like, talking to my friends, I feel like isn't really like talked about so much in like other people's sex education, like not just sex in general, but also like LGBT relationships and like harassment and stuff like that. I felt like we kind of talked a lot about that, so I felt like that was good because I felt like I had a good foundation. But like in contrast to that, like my parents, because I come from like an Indian background, so they're pretty conservative, and they don't really like talking about sex at all or like anything like that. So like my parents like didn't even really want me to do sex education for like the first, like the opt-out form. They were like kind of wanted to sign it a little bit.
The decisions a government makes can have lasting effects on its population. Our focus is on sex education because of its long-lasting effects on a society. A comprehensive sex education can help students to make informed decisions which can lessen their likelihood of contracting STIs and having unwanted pregnancies. We looked at school-based sex education programs and teen birth rates in 3 countries: the United States, the Netherlands, and Brazil. The U.S., with a teen birth rate of roughly 21 births per 1,000 women aged 15 to 19, has a diverse program of sex education in schools with curriculums decided by each state. Some are liberal and some are conservative. The conflicted nature of U.S. public opinion on sex education is reflected by Pew surveys from 2005, which indicated that, while 76% of those polled believe schools should use an abstinence curriculum, 78% also believe that the schools should provide students with information about birth control. A non-publicly funded initiative, the WISE Initiative, has made strides for school-taught sexual health by helping nearly 800,000 students in 88 school districts receive new or enhanced sex education in the classroom. The Netherlands, with a teen birth rate of 4 births per 1,000 women aged 15 to 19, is a more liberal society with a more progressive sex education curriculum.
I always start my lessons with 5 minutes of you can ask a question. So as long as we're busy with this part of the curriculum, they can ask everything. And then I get the strangest questions. Mm-hmm. But I like that because then you get interview, connection.
Right. So you can have good conversations in class.
Oh, absolutely.
Are there certain things that you can't talk about, or are there questions that a student could ask that you wouldn't be able to answer?
No, I don't think so.
Brazil, with a teen birth rate of 63 births per 1,000 women aged 15 to 19, has become much more conservative than it was in the past due to heavy influence from the Catholic Church. This has had a negative effect on the youth of the country, particularly for the young women. However, there has been a push for a more multicultural human rights approach, which strives to diffuse the public's resistance to a more open sex education.
A missão da Latina é contribuir para a melhoria da saúde sexual e a saúde reprodutiva das populações, em especial as populações mais carentes, na área de pesquisa, capacitação, educação, e também trabalha na área de advocacy, reivindicação dos direitos sexuais e os direitos.
In her article, Sexual Rights, Meanings, Controversies, and Sexual Health Promotion, Ilse Lades summarizes literature by her peers in her field to promote sexual rights as human rights for all people. Taking a political stance with a feminist perspective, she highlights the need for advocates to promote better sexual health. We agree with Lades that sexual rights should be considered human rights. Global reforms should be made to adopt legislative policies allowing more liberal sexual education in public school systems. The benefits of this can be seen by the low teen birth rates for individuals in the Netherlands as compared to those in the United States and Brazil. In the U.S., a recent bill was proposed for more comprehensive sex education. The Youth Access to Sexual Health Services Act of 2017, proposed by Representative Alma Adams, would supply grants to provide medically accurate and culturally appropriate sexual health information to prevent STIs and unwanted pregnancies. We hope to see more legislation passed worldwide to advocate for more informative and constructive sex education to promote better sexual health.